Hi, this is Mrs. Saunders. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something called emotional intelligence. And just like being smart, academically, emotional intelligence is really important. And emotional intelligence is having a good sense of yourself, knowing who you are, being assured of your talents and your abilities, and having good self-esteem. That means you feel good about yourself and the decisions you make. And it also means being able to interact well with your friends, interact well with people you're romantically interested in, being aware of your feelings and being able to deal with your feelings. So all that goes into creating this thing called emotional intelligence. And unfortunately, what happens when you use drugs or alcohol when you're in middle school or high school is you don't really get a chance to develop that emotional intelligence. And so it's something you'll be really missing, because what happens when you use drugs or alcohol is you kind of go out of your body and you go into this other place. So it's not really you experiencing these things. It's the kind of you that's over here and sort of detached from the realities of the moment. And I think you can relate to it because if you have used drugs or alcohol, that feeling you get that you're just sort of released from everything and you sort of float. And that's why it's fun. But there are real consequences to having that fun, because you don't get a chance to develop that identity when you're in your own body and experiencing all these things you're going to experience as a teenager. You don't learn how to deal with those things being yourself. You're this person over here. And also when you're drunk and high, you don't really remember these things. You don't really experience them because you're in this other place. So you don't get the learning. You don't realize, hey, I can be nervous before I go out with someone I'm, romantically interested in, and I'll get through it. And you sort of gain that emotional savvy that makes you realize you can do things. And the consequences sometimes of using, drugs or alcohol is we make bad decisions. And we make them because it loosens our inhibitions and it makes us do things we wouldn't have done if we hadn't been drunk or high. And that really damages self-esteem when we do things that make us feel bad about ourselves. And that's what can happen when you use drugs or alcohol, because you don't kind of have that restraint, that voice that says, no, don't do this, it may be dangerous, or it's not a good idea. You kind of lose that voice when you use drugs or alcohol. So that's why it's not a good idea when you're a middle schooler or a high schooler to have those experiences drunk or high. It's just going to harm your emotional intelligence. And you need that. You need that when you're grown up and dealing with life. It's really important. So I want to ask you again just to put it off and to give yourself a chance to grow that self-esteem by making good decisions and feeling good about yourself. It's really important. So as always, I want the best for you. I want you to be careful when you go out into the world. And I really appreciate you listening to me. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.